Hi everyone, Josh here from Bump Stop Car Mods and Mentoring. I just want to give you a backstory on how Bump Stop Mentoring came about. So about 3 years ago now, I was sitting down at a barbecue with some friends. One of the friends I had only just met, and I've been with Fusion for like 16 years now. And in my time with Fusion, I've been involved in mentoring kids at risk for pretty much that whole time. And we've seen kids come and go from our programs, predominantly in carpentry and small motor courses and push bikes and that sort of stuff. And the interest just wasn't there, you know. And we're about helping these kids and making a difference in their lives. So as I was talking to Steve, the person at this barbecue, he's telling me about these motorcanas and things he does with the Christian Autosports Club of Australia. And I just had come upon my heart that that's what we needed to do. We needed to build a car with these kids and use it as a common point of interest to help build relationship so we can invest into the lives of these young guys. Now, some of you may or may not know that Bump Stop Car Mods and Mentoring is a program of Fusion Australia, and Fusion Australia is a Christian non-for-profit youth and community organisation. After this barbecue, I went away thinking about, is this the right thing to do? So, being a Christian myself, I decided it was time to pray and search God on the issue. And nothing really came about for a good 18 months. But during that 18 months' time, there'd been a lot of ups and downs and changes in Fusion, and especially in the building company, Fusion Building and Maintenance, which I'm the manager of. We'd had a lot of changes to government contracts and that sort of stuff, and we'd moved buildings. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, and we weren't exactly in a good place to start a new mentoring program, especially one that costs a bit of money to run. But at the beginning of last year, it kept hitting my heart. You need to start this program. You need to start this program. And I just really felt that God was telling me that. So at the beginning of last year, we went in search of a car. We still had no idea how this program was going to come about. We actually, as a building company, didn't really have the funds to pay for a car build. But we started praying for a car. That's when Bump Stop, as you know now, Bump Stop, our Honda CR-V, was given to us. One of the guys in our staff goes, "Hey, I've got a Honda CR-V in my front yard. You can have it if you want it." So Grant, my offsider, and myself sort of looked at each other and we thought, what are we going to do with a Honda CR-V? And Grant said to me, "Let's bump stop it." Hence the name Project Bump Stop originally came about, because we decided we were going to bump stop this CR-V, and it became affectionately known as Bump Stop. So our original plans for Bump Stop were to turn it into a dual cab ute, lower it, and leave it about there and exhaust, that sort of stuff. Well, after speaking with CAMs and different people, we found that we couldn't actually chop it into a ute and still use it for motorcanas. So that's where the idea of the panel van was born. But we had 3 young guys in the mentoring program at that stage anyway. We had Cody, Luke and Harley, and they'd been coming along doing some small engine work and push bike work, but again they were dragging their feet, and we told them about this car project. At first they thought, yeah right, as if. But we picked up the car and we brought it down, and I still remember Luke and Harley's first comment about the car was, "This is a box." And it was a piece of junk that was a repairable write-off. It had been sitting in a front yard for 3 years. It was covered in moss and spiders and all sorts of things, but it was our car. So we started on this journey with the guys and with the car, with basically no funds to build this car. And the first thing we needed was a battery. So I remember very clearly on a Wednesday night, lying in bed, and I said, "God, we need a battery. I want to be able to start this car for these kids so that they can start to get excited about the project." And I went to sleep. The next morning I'm in a meeting with our estimator, and Grant comes into my office and he says, "You're not going to believe this, Josh, but Jack's Tyres in St Mary's just gave us a battery." And I was able to turn around to Grant and say, "You're not going to believe this, but I just prayed last night for a battery." And that was the beginning of our answered prayers. So from that point, we started working on the car with Luke, Harley and Cody, and they were there with bells on, you know, and it was something you could work together with. It was just an amazing journey. So Cody, who would come on a Tuesday, very mechanically gifted, and Luke and Harley really had the ability to think outside the square in planning the build as we went. So part of the process is that Nigel is a trained youth worker and mechanic. I'm a builder. I've got youth work experience through the mentoring we've done, and Nigel would work with the kids, or still does work with the kids, on the basis of a mentor. So he would do tasks on the car that are challenging, and he'll be in the process chatting with the guys about what's going on in life, and then he's really amazing at taking that task and the challenges overcoming that task and turning it around and being able to say to the guys, okay, well, how would you use this in areas of your life? And it's amazing to see them twig and go, oh yeah, because it's practical. It's practical and they can see the outworkings of it. When the guys work with me, I come from a work readiness point of view. I work with them on deadlines. I'll say, okay, this is our target today, boys. Get your hands out of your pocket, it's time to work. And I'll work alongside them like a tradesman and an apprentice, and we'd work hard, and it'll be, okay, well, it'll be lunchtime when we get that seat out. And in that, it was to help them develop a work ethic. So we continued on this journey, still with no money. I know when it was time to buy the suspension for Bump Stop, we went searching on eBay like we do because we didn't have much money, and we had an anonymous donation of around $500, which was exactly what we needed for the suspension. And we had just had so many times through the build where people would just generously donate funds because they believed in it. And through this time, we just had to keep praying because we didn't have the money to do it otherwise. And we just saw God just deliver one thing after another through the Bump Stop story. And during this time, our building company, which was sort of struggling at the beginning of the year, we came along on the faith journey as well. You know, as we're praying for Bump Stop and we're praying for the kids and we're praying for our business started to grow. And as we journeyed along the Bump Stop journey and we watched these kids grow and we watched this car get developed, we also had in parallel, our building company was growing. And we were starting to get bigger jobs. The government funding that had presented challenges, one side of it settled down and we got into a rhythm and it started to flourish. So by the end of the year, our building company was back to where it was before all the changes, and we're in a position where we could start putting some funds into the project ourselves. But another point I remember is we were looking for wheels and tyres for Bump Stop, and I'm looking through Gumtree and Facebook and eBay and all those things, and I've been looking for weeks, much what I do now with the current build. And I just really felt God put it in my heart to call Jack's Tyres. And I called Jack's Tyres and I said, hey Phil, just wondering if you can give me a price on tyres for the project car we're doing with the kids. And Phil said to me, remind me, Josh, about this project. So I reminded him about it, and he said, mate, I'll do anything for the kids, I'll give you the tyres. So Jack's Tyres in St Mary's gave us 5 tyres for Bump Stop, 5 semi-slicks, which have been amazing. In the meantime, I connected up with the Christian Autosports Club of Australia, connected with those guys, and they have just really embraced the Bump Stop car mods and mentoring program. They support us in events with helping us cover costs for the kids to go and participate. Because part of the journey with the kids is about bringing their families along with them, and part of that is that reward at the end when we've built the car is that they get to drive it in a Motorcana. Now, for those who don't know what a Motorcana is, it's a low-speed event around sort of poles in a paddock. You're the only car there. You feel like you're flying and you have an amazing time, but you're doing like 15, 20 kilometres an hour max. It's quite a safe, controlled environment. So the idea was that these kids could come down and drive the car, but their parents had to come with them. Had to sign all the forms, and they had to be there to help supervise. And what we found as we went along in the build, that dads were starting to come down and check out the car, see what their boys had been up to. And on the day of the Motorcana, we had a massive amount of families there to watch their kids. We had guys from my local church come down, all to support these kids. And I know all three of them. Luke had driven before, but never driven a manual. Cody and Harley had never driven before. And so all three of them were taught how to drive a manual in a matter of minutes. And they did awesome. And they loved it. And the smiles in their faces was worth every penny, And I remember very clearly with Cody. Cody got in the car. He was the first one in it. And I talked him through how to use the clutch, and he took off. And he did it. And then we stopped him at the beginning of the head of the queue, and his dad's there, and his dad's smiling and going like this. And I said to Cody, who's sitting like this at the time, I said, Cody, look up, look at your dad. Nah, I'm not looking at Dad, he's laughing at me. I said, no, Cody, he's not laughing at you, look at your dad. No, I'm not looking at Dad. And I ended up saying, Cody, will you do it for me? Will you look at your dad? And it gets me every time, because Cody looked up and he saw his dad doing these ones, and everything changed. Everything changed in Cody, and he said, he's proud of me. He's proud of me. And to me, that's one of the most amazing moments of this journey, that we got to be a part of that, So for us, it's not about building cars, it's about building young lives. Take it or leave it with cars for me. I'm a car enthusiast, but you know what? My favourite car in the world is parked in my driveway. It's an old Nissan Patrol. I don't have the need to go fast. I don't feel that I need to go and build cars. But for me, and I know the other guys in the program too, it's about building the lives of these young people. So again, this year we started with Misfire. At the end of last year, I said, all right, God, if this is something you want me to do, again, then we need a car. Now, for probably 24 hours went past and we didn't have a car yet, and I did my usual get anxious thing and, where's this car, God? And I went, this is ridiculous, what am I doing? Okay, Lord, if it's right, I'll leave the car with you. It was a Thursday. I got to the office. I'd set up my computer in the morning. I'm in there chatting with my estimator again. There you go. And I got a text message from one of my mates saying, I've got a Corolla for you. I'm like, wow, that was like 10 minutes after I prayed. So I went down and had a look at this Corolla over Chrissy, and I remember looking at it and everything needed fixing. This thing was just gone. And God, what have you given us? I need some inspiration. And as I'm flicking through eBay, I see a Commodore, and I just had this epiphany almost. We've got to join the two together to make a Corolla door. I said, okay, God, if this is right, I need a Commodore. Well, a day later, Sinclair Ford donated our first Commodore to us, which was a V6. It was a V6 Commodore, and so the Corolla door journey began. And as we continued, I've been chatting with different people on Instagram and that sort of stuff. And I started chatting with Scotty from Street Machine, the Carnage show. And I just messaged him one day and I said, hey, Scott, would you guys be interested in supporting our youth mentoring program? I'm not looking for any money or anything like that. I just want the opportunity to race your turbo taxi. Scott replied, email me. So I emailed him the bump stop story, what we do, what it's about. And they came back and said, hey, love what you're doing. When Misfire's finished, let us know and we'll see what we can tee up. At which point, we were so excited, and we started seeing the quarter mile times that the Turbo Taxi was doing. And I'm like, oh, wow, we got to be faster than the V6 in a Corolla. And hence the idea of the LS1 was born. I remember I was looking at 2 different engine and gearbox packages on eBay. And I'd messaged both people for some information, and 24 hours had gone past and no one responded. I said, all right, God, with the first one to message me back, let that be the car. So next morning, the Saturday morning, I woke up and I got a message, ding, give us a call. So I rang up this guy down in Melbourne, had a chat with him, told him what the car was for, what the engine gearbox was for, the program, and he said, do you want the whole car? And I was sort of like, I don't know. And he said, no, hear me out. And he told me all the extra goodies that we had in the car, and he said, basically we could have it for an additional $400 on what we're going to pay for the engine and gearbox. And I was like, send it up. So we bought it sight unseen. It was another answer to prayer. So we've been journeying with Dan and Zach and Zeke over the past year, some of them longer than others. Dan is the most mechanically gifted young man you will ever meet. Zach is full of enthusiasm and energy. And Zeke, we're just getting to know. He's been with us a little while, but he's a quiet sort of guy, but he's a thinker. He's a real thinker. So we're really enjoying this journey with the kids as we build this car, and it's been a lot of hard work, this particular car. We've made some amazing connections with people through social media, through different avenues. I try and get Bump Stop out as often as I can to events just to tell the story. But I guess the purpose of this video is I just wanted to share the story and the heart behind the Bump Stop Car Mods and Mentoring Program. We're not out to be famous. We're not out to build the coolest cars. The cars are a tool to help these young people. And as long as we're helping young people with building these cars, we're going to keep building cars, because we want to help them find purpose. We want to help them dream bigger than their life circumstances. So many of these kids that we've worked with over the years have been incorrectly labelled because of where they live, or they're not so good at school. They might be told that they're never going to achieve anything. Well, we're here to tell them something different. So many people told me in my journey in life that, you wouldn't achieve anything. I moved 23 times before I got married. Friends were something not easy to find, and there was tough times growing up. But you know what? I continue to dream big, and I continue to work hard. So that's why we build these crazy builds with these kids, because we want them to see that just because people say you can't build a V8 rear-wheel drive converted Corolla doesn't mean you can't. We want them to see that if you dream big, and the key here is that if you work hard to achieve your dreams, then you can achieve it. It doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter who you are, we all have the same capacity to reach our dreams. So if that's all the kids get out of it at the end of the day, the ability to look out of their situation and dream big and work hard to achieve their goals, car's worth it. If we can teach them life skills, whether it be communication or anger management or any of those things that we work on with these young guys, car's worth it. If they walk away with a stronger sense of identity, car's worth it. But the day we start building cars with kids and they don't get any of that, car's not worth it. Because this program is about building individual lives, and the cars are an awesome byproduct. Yep, I love driving them, don't get me wrong. They're an awesome byproduct. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't help the kids, we don't build the cars. But I just want to thank everybody for your help and your support. Thank you for those who've stuck through this whole video. I know it's been long. Thank you for those who continue to support us. Look, if this is something that's on your heart that you want to support, please let us know. We fund 90% of these builds ourselves, and we certainly need all the help we can get in with funds and parts and that sort of stuff, and sometimes even behind the scenes doing some work on the cars. because we do that at night or on top of our normal duties in the building company. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, and yeah, let's change some kids' lives together. All right, we'll see you next time on Bump Stop Car Mods and Mentoring.